We're going to be going for a 3 or 4 hours, and without further ado, we're just going to get straight on into it. So guys, welcome to Improvement, episode number 1. I'm going to load up our first replay right here. As you can see, it's going to be on Antiga Shipyard, as everything is set. And we do have, in the bottom left hand corner, our red Terran player, Mr. TiNo, who's the player who actually submitted this replay. And in the top left hand corner we do have our blue Protoss player, Mr. Josh, who is TiNo's opponent today. And TiNo is someone who came to us on the SC2 Improve website the other day and said, look, I'm having a lot of trouble in TvP, and we actually managed to help him out, and apparently this is a TvP where things went a little bit better for him than usual. So we'll see how it turns out for him, we'll see how it goes as we see the first pylon being first down. And we'll see what other further tips we can give him, of course, at the end as we get into this here. So guys, if you want your replays to be casted and you haven't yet submitted them, you can just post the links in the chat if you upload it to drop.sc. Other than that, if we don't get through all the replays, we'll be obviously be a second episode of this, because it will have been pretty successful, and that'll be pretty much as soon as we can get it done. So if you don't get your replays casted today, they will always be next time, so just keep an eye out for the improvement show by SC2 Improve. As this probe does come in, it's going to start harassing the worker building the barracks there, and the worker will survive, but it did delay the barracks just by a little bit. That probe will get away for now as well. He's just going to run around the base a little bit, exactly what Protoss can do, until that first Marine comes out, if you're careful with the probe, of course. And so he's just going to keep running in circles here. With an SCV chasing, he's going to turn around, use his shields to try and take some damage off the SCV, but it's not going to be too successful. Gets a couple of hits off before he has to continue running around in circles. Back at home for the Protoss player, we see that gateway and the first gas coming up right now for Josh. So again, in the bottom left, we have the Terran player who's got his barracks about finished. He's not taking gas yet. The Protoss sees this as well, so it's quite an important thing to note, because the Protoss is going to be pretty confident that this is probably going to be a gasless expand, and if he leaves with his probe now, he should be able to get out there and maybe even see the actual expansion going down. But his probe is just going to get out there. Interesting to note that TiNo, he's just sending that first scout and SCV across the map right now.
You want a piece of me, boy?
Moving over to the bottom right, so he's going to scout his opponent last. Of course, this is played on the ladder, so all spawn positions are available, which is of course why Josh has spawned effectively close positions here on Antiga Shipyard. So this probe did come back in. Did he get much more information? Well, no, not really, but there he sees the command center coming down. So again, Josh is going to feel pretty confident now. He's going to be able to either get out some more units of his own and pressure this, or he can do exactly what he is doing and take a fast expansion of his own, and that's kind of the normal time for Protoss fast expand to be going down as well. So TiNo, his wall was a little bit off. Usually of course it's better to put this barracks here and then the second depot here. Works a little bit better than what he did. He's going to add on at least 1 rack. We'll see if he goes up to 3 racks here very shortly. And yeah, there is the third racks going down. So he's going to take the third racks and then start getting his gas down as well. So the very standard TvP kind of just get racks, get to upgrades, and go attack with bio and medevacs around 10 minutes-ish, or so it seems right now. So only taking the 1 gas, so he's going to be very economical. He's going to get out as many Marines as possible, not take as quickly as you might expect, but it's going to allow him to get a faster either third base or a faster 4th and 5th barracks by getting only 1 gas instead of the 2. So a bit of a bomber-esque build as we get into the game, get into the kind of late stages of the early game. With this first stalker coming out for Josh, he's going to be able to poke across the map, but there's already a bunker here. That bunker, of course, is very important in TvP to deny that early zealot stalker poke, because them early 2 gateway units are very, very powerful against what Terran has early on in the game off of 1 racks. Probe going down to the bottom right. Looks like he's going to try and make a pylon in the space, which is a very common pylon placement as well. You know, it's up on the high ground, it's hidden as close to the third base of the Terran. So not too surprised to see that there. He's going to place that down before. Looks like he's going to head back home. The Stalker just holding the map controller right now outside the main base. A little bit risky standing at the bottom of the ramp. A bit safe to stand maybe back here. Of course, at the bottom of the ramp you get pretty much minimal notification that the Terran players come out of his bunker, because you can't see up that high ground. So TiNo, they're doing the right thing right now, just in his bunker. Protoss pokes, there's no harm done in that because it's only losing shields. Second Stalkers is going to join the fray, but that's not going to be able to do too much. Back at home, the SCV is actually getting a really nice scout for TiNo. Sees the robo facility coming down, and you know he's going to be able to expect extra gates coming down after that, and there are 3 more gates to take us up to 4 gates in the robo facility. So this SCV scout is very important for Terran. It always is. If you can get your initial SCV scout out and maybe just hide it at the 3rd base, sometimes you can hide it over here, maybe wherever, and just go back in once these first stalkers are out on the map. There's nothing to actually deny you scouting, and so you can get quite a lot of information. As you see, we see Josh getting an observer out of his rover facility. He's going up to that 4 gate. He's also adding a forge, so he's definitely aiming for kind of the mid-late game here. TiNo, however, he's got his stim start up. It's a little bit late, a little bit later than it should be, even with this later second gas. He's got a few too many SCVs on this gas here, so a little bit slight mistake there. He's got his factory coming down, he's got his engineering bay coming down. Again, they could be slightly earlier, just looking at how much gas he's got saved up. And the other thing he's kind of missing right now is the fact that when you take your factory and your engineering bay, you could probably take your 3rd gas as well. They always quite often come together because you're going to be wanting to continue the upgrades as well as the other aspects of your tech, such as the medevacs, which are about to come out, and so on. So getting that 3rd gas, he's going to get it now, so just a little bit late on that, which is no problem at all really at the end of the day. And we go back to the Protoss base, where he doesn't have too many units quite yet, but his warp gate's just about to start kicking in. He's adding cannons for drop defense, which is an okay way to deal with drops really at kind of this level of play. I believe this is about gold Plat level, so using them cannons when you don't have quite the multitasking to keep up with Terran in them early stages is of course always fine. So going to use his cannons there. I like the fact that TiNo's got his depots around the edges of his base, so he's going to be able to see any kind of warp prism harassment or so on coming in as soon as possible, as he just swaps his starport over there. His factory could start floating over here, could maybe land and block the 3rd base from being taken for a while, as the first 2 medevacs will start up. No supply block here, and TiNo with a very heavy marine army here. Now, he should be getting a few more marauders out, and that's what he's going to start doing now, but he also hasn't added a add-on at all to this 3rd Rax here, and generally with this build you can go up to like 2 reactors and a tech lab, or 2 tech labs and a reactor, and that'll always help you with your production, getting that kind of as many units out as possible for this timing that you're going to want to hit around 10:30. So just a little bit of a mistake here, but he will have combat shields, he will have concussive shells very soon now as his first 2 medevacs start to pop out, and also he's adding on extra racks as well. So already just taking that single gas early on has allowed him to get up to 5 racks just before the 10-minute mark. He's going to start adding his add-ons on there, and he is now starting to increase his marauder production, which is very important now of course, because as the game goes on, we expect the Protoss player to be teching up to some form of AoE. We don't actually see it in this game here, but actually there we go. It's Bay coming down a little bit late for the Protoss player, but nonetheless still that idea of going up to an AoE kind of unit, and that's why again a bit of a heavier marauder force is a little bit more important at this point in the game. So TiNo's going to be able to push forward here with good force fields. Josh should be able to shut this down. He's got some stalkers positioned his main nicely, ready to defend from the drops. So we'll see if they can do anything. They're actually heading right towards the stalkers, and Josh kind of knows about this, and TiNo turns around just in time as well. And you know that's always nice. He's going to try and continue this pressure over to the right hand side, but the stalkers do pick up on this. Again, nice map awareness by Josh. The only problem right now is, of course, TiNo's been a supply block quite a while. He's been very preoccupied with his attack. I like the fact he's drawn the stalkers out of position, realises this, and now goes into the main. But he is going to try and attack up the ramp at the same time, as this drop is in the natural. Attacking the forge, if you can pick off the forge, that'd be great, but he has lost a lot of army at the front here. The drop now coming into the back of the main base as well. Going to be able to pick off a cannon. The forge does get depowered. It wasn't researching anything anyway. TiNo going to try and save this medevac here, as the drop in the back. Going to pick off another cannon. Could have done a little bit more damage if you ran it over a bit more into the mineral line, but TiNo going to try and get out there before the stalkers pick it off, and looks like he changed his mind actually, and now will lose at least 1 medevac, if not 2. Well, he will just sack the units instead, but TiNo with some very nice aggression here early on. As we see Josh maybe looking to get a little bit aggressive with these units. The first Colossus is about to come out as well. And if we look at what TiNo's scouted, he hasn't actually seen that Robo Bay, but you know, he knows the robo facilities up. He's not really seen any Twilight Council or Double Forge play, so he should know Robo Bay is probably the tech of choice, and so he should be able to now start a second starport, as well as to get them Vikings out, as well as keeping up his medevac production. Seeing Army and Engineering Bay coming down, they're a little bit late, as 1-1's been finished for quite some time. So again, just the idea of keeping up the macro ability keeping up the macro while being aggressive is something that TiNo could look at here. Of course, it's very difficult. A lot of people can't do that. I can't do that myself. I always get sidetracked, but that's just something for him to look at. And again, he's got a lot of gas here for himself to kind of work with. I mean, 800 gas, so he could definitely be throwing down that extra starport, getting them extra upgrades out. And once he does get that armory finished, and start them upgrades, that gas will drop down pretty quickly. TiNo also started his third base, which is again a little late. So again, just going back to that little macro during pressure issue, he's adding on his ghost cannon, which is a nice time because as you take your third base, you get access to this 5th and 6th gas geyser, and with that you can afford that extra tech. In this case, because he's got so much gas, it's always of course available to start up that tech choice before he actually gets to that point. So TiNo's sitting at a pretty nice supply lead right now, as we do see Colossi starting to really come out for our opponent. He has the extended thermal lance is about to finish. We also see the Twilight Council up, and that's what's allowed the +2. No, we don't see +2 armor. We see +1 shields. It's a little bit interesting, but that's going to be important for the Protoss player to transition into Templar, get charge and blink up, very important upgrades, as well as some other things. Protoss player not using his Chrono too greatly. He could get them upgrades out a little bit faster, which is one of the real strengths of Protoss, but he will be taking his third base now, which isn't too far behind Terran's third base, which is what's really important in this matchup. You can take a later third base because your other player is going to be teching up a little bit more, but you can't afford to be too far behind. So getting that up in a nice amount of time, just starting it up as the old command morphs in. TiNo doing a nice job just moving his units around. He got supply blocked a little bit again, which is again to kind of be expected. If you look at his income tab, he's done a pretty decent job on SCVs. He's up at 60. It's a pretty nice time to start thinking of cutting SCVs as well. So he's on a decent number of SCVs. He's got that second starport up. He's got his ghost cannon up. He's really set to go and continue into the late game here. The only thing he really needs to be thinking about now is extra production as he heads towards max. A 4th base if he wants to continue this game going on much longer. And things such as that. I mean, he's got his upgrades continuing, and he'll be able to start 3-3 here. It looks like he might go for some kind of 2-2 timing attack as his 2-2 finishes up. More Vikings still in production. He's going to want around 3 to 4 Vikings per Colossi. So you could be wanting to look to have about 12. So the Viking production is a little bit late, and that could be something that could have caused TiNo a lot of problems here as well. So just kind of getting that response to your opponent's tech up that little bit faster, cutting the medevacs for a little while you do so. Little things like that always important. A nice scan there to pick off the observer in the middle of the map will take a little bit of that map control away from Josh and TiNo right now. Just so far ahead on supply again. He didn't do too much damage early on, but it definitely put his Protoss opponent off. He hasn't made any more workers since then. So we see the Templar Archives now coming down as the tech switch starts to kick in again once this third base comes up for Protoss, which is the same kind of thing with Terran and Ghost. You know, you want to get that extra tech up as you get the extra gas available to you. As we say, lag. Oh my god, why is it lag? Should be fixed. Just a little spike. Sorry about that. Looks like we're back smooth and everything, so guys, sorry about the little bit of lag. See drops continuing to come in from TiNo now. Just going to move this medevac around a bit, and again he's just trying to pull the Protoss out of position, force Vulcans where the army is in. And at the same time he's going to continue to press forward here, and it looks like he's about to come in at the third base. Come in here, he does have 2-2s, he does have the better upgrades, he's got a pretty nice concave. Force field's not going down, finally going down, so TiNo getting a little bit trapped here. He has to be careful, he's got quite a lot of units bunched up there, but he's got enough Vikings to take this down, the Colossi down pretty quickly, and he will be able to take out the rest of them bio units once there's no more AoE on the map. And Josh just not able to quite get that Templar tech up. Will lose a lot of his tech here. The Vikings will land as well to try and help out. It looks like TiNo will get this force cleaned up, but here come reinforcements from the main base, and he will actually clean up the rest of his opponent's units. And so Josh forced back into his natural. It looks like he's going to lose his third base. He's got another Colossi up, but these Vikings can just lift to start taking that down, which is exactly what they're going to do. And TiNo again just too much supply for Josh to handle right now. It looks like he will be able to take down his opponent here in the next few moments, as that Colossi will fall once again. Again, TiNo just focusing over here, going to take down that third Nexus, and he's in a pretty nice position. He's going to move some units back just in case he gets intercepted. The third base does fall, and he's just maybe going to fall back, wait for his reinforcements to get here, which is what's happening right now. Again, behind this, TiNo could have just to secure the victory started with 4th base. Remember to drop their mules, get that 5th and 6th gas. Little things like that will always help. He will stim up now into the natural, and he will start taking down the units of his opponent, the last units of his opponent. In fact, and Josh gonna have to tap out here very shortly. He has left the game, and TiNo will take the victory. So sorry about a little bit of lag, a little bit of a lag spike that we had. As TiNo takes that game, so TiNo was the player who submitted that, so a little bit of thoughts for him. So firstly, of course, kind of trying to macro behind your attacks, always useful if you can macro behind. So just not get too involved in it. Remember to keep going home, adding production, spending units. He's got a little bit of a miss rally here, which didn't affect him too much in that game, but that's because for a lot of the game he's been rallying onto a certain unit. So when units die, his rally point kind of gets cancelled, and because his rally point gets cancelled, of course, he has to re-rally, so he's losing a lot of units in his main base because of that issue. So that's something TiNo can look at, always trying to rally on a kind of space instead of on units, unless you remember to reset it more often. He's a little bit oversaturated in his main here, so again, just listening for that minerals depleted sound so that he can transfer over to his 3rd base. And also again, this gas up is very important if the game was to go on a lot more. I mean, he's had a high gas count all game long, and that's just kind of because he didn't get that extra starport rolling maybe as quickly as he should have. He didn't get that M22 running as quickly as he should have, and so on. So again, just timings for TiNo to kind of tighten up on here. Again, the Vikings were out a little bit late, and that's just to do with the extra starport being that little bit late. He didn't see the robo base, so he saw the Colossi pretty late. But even after he saw the Colossi, he did continue producing medevacs, which was an issue for him because he could have been under a lot of threat from the Protoss player had he attacked with a few Colossi while TiNo was still making them medevacs. So just some things to think about there for TiNo, as he did take the game, but again, he hit with a nice timing. His opponent just taking up to that Templar. It's a nice time to hit once your opponent just starts to establish that 3rd base. He's just going to be switching into that extra tech path. You can hit a very strong timing, usually with 2-1, maybe even with 2-2, depends when you get them upgrade started. So it's a nice little time to hit if your opponent opens Colossi with about 10 or so Vikings, a heavy kind of 2-1 or 2-2 army, just before the storm kicks in. So TiNo able to take that game. We're going to take, of course, just a minute or two to before we get into second game of the day, next replay. I'll just be selecting that in the break. So guys, thanks for tuning in, and remember the VODs will all be uploaded to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/SC